Now, President Clinton is, of course, thrilled. He is in Africa. He was in Senegal when he heard the news. He was apologizing for Jewish guys wearing afros. At the time that he heard it, and they asked him for a comment, and he said, and I thought this was a little inappropriate, he said, "I'm going to Disney World." Now, come on. Now, they love him over there in Africa. They don't understand why this is a scandal at all, and they celebrated this victory. They call him the Great White Trash Hunter. It is also unclear how this will affect the rest of his political/sexual problems here in America. But in Washington today, Monica Lewinsky said, "Now do I get my gifts back?" And finally, I thought this was especially appropriate in this time when kids are growing up too fast. This was all over the news today. A Virginia boy, 13 years old, known as Mr. Pimp, in the school. 13 years old, he was arranging sex for pay between boys and girls in his middle school class. I mean, this is so wrong. 13 is supposed to be an innocent age where boys are still having sex with their teacher. I don't understand. Thank you for coming. It's all been satirized for your protection. Thank you very much. All right, let's meet our partner from nationally syndicated radio show is Jeanette Parshall's America. She's Jeanette Parshall. There you are, Janet. How are you? Thank you for coming. The author of There's Nothing in the Middle of the Road But Yellow Stripes and Dead Armadillos, Jim Hightower. Jim. How are you? Good to see you again. The Dukes of Hazzard concert tour starts April 4th in Live Oak, Florida. It's What's the Future? Bo Duke is John Schneider. John, how are you? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming back. And finally, she's a fine actress who's been nominated for 5 Emmys for playing Corky Sherwood on Murphy Brown, my friend Faith Ford. There you are, kitten. How are you, babe? Good to see you. That's all right. All right, well, from time to time here on Politically Incorrect, we give out fruit baskets, and we actually send them, by the way. This is not a joke. We send these to people we think are deserving of them, and today I thought was a day we would give to, first of all, Judge Susan White Reber for throwing the Paula Jones case out of court. She basically said, let's not make a federal case out of this. Also, I wanted to give one to Elizabeth Ward Grayson. She is the former Miss America who was offered $1 million by the Star to talk about whatever happened with President Clinton. She refused. She did not want to bring this into the press. She only came forward yesterday because somebody had said that Clinton basically raped her, and she said this cannot stand. And she said it insults all women who have been sexually harassed. And that's the question I wanted to ask. Isn't that what this ruling says today? That whatever Clinton did in this hotel room, doesn't it insult all people who have really been sexually harassed?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Let me back up to your awards first. Is one of those baskets going to be filled with rotten fruit?
Ah!
Because if, in fact, Elizabeth Ward Grayson did have consensual sex with the President of the United States, she took something that didn't belong to her. That was another woman's husband, and Bill Clinton was married at the time. So why would you award her for not taking $1 million when, in fact, she had sex with somebody that she wasn't married to?
Well, wait, I'm not sure she took it. I think Clinton's Willie has been available, you know, without being requested.
How do you know Clinton's wife doesn't care if he has sex with other women? What business is it of yours?
What business is it of mine? Well, I think, is there a sexual exemption for the President of the United States? If he lied on his resume, if he cheated on his college exams...
There's a sexual exemption for every American. It's called freedom.
Freedom to have sex with somebody else's wife?
Yeah, if it's okay with your wife.
Well, do you think that he sat down with Hillary around the kitchen table and said, listen, honey,
I don't know, because I don't care what goes on in somebody else's marriage. You want to tell us what goes on in your marriage?
It's at 27 years, my high school sweetheart. We've been
You don't know what your husband does. Let's see.
I can absolutely guarantee. Absolutely guarantee. And I'll tell you what, when I go home, I'm giving him a basket of fruit.
I'll just say that I support anybody that has a wonderful marriage, but I just know that a lot of people don't necessarily have those, and they have these double things going. There's a double standard. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but it happens. A lot of people do. A lot of people have extramarital affairs, and it just goes on. I don't condone it either way, but I certainly couldn't feel comfortable about getting on and judging someone else because it might have happened to them, or trying to even pretend to know what the real situation is. In many ways, I do agree with Bill, because you don't really know what their arrangement might have been at that time or whatever, so I can't sit back and say, oh, yes, absolutely, it was a wrong thing for Bill to do, because you just don't know. You know, I don't ever
want to come back and say that.
You don't know if there's something, if you don't know that something is wrong.
No.
There are things that are definitely wrong. I think one of the biggest problems we've got in society today, particularly in this country, and particularly surrounding this whole cloudy issue of did he or didn't he, you know, really who cares if he did or he didn't. The problem that I see is that America is saying, hello America, America is saying,
for once I'm with America,
that it doesn't matter.
Feels good.
People are saying that it doesn't matter. Now I was brought up, I believe...
They're not. They're saying
well,
it's
they're
none
saying
of
that
their
whatever.
Business.
Well, you just
They're
said it
saying it's
yourself.
none of their business. That's different than it doesn't
Well, but it
matter.
is, because it's a public office. It's a public office, and this John Schneider, I was brought up to believe that one day, please don't make a joke, because I'm sure it's going to make it so that somebody can make a joke, but please, I believe that if I tried hard enough, I could grow up to be president, and I believe that that meant something, and I believe that being president of a corporation, certainly of the country, means that you have a different set of standards to live by. And those, I believe, need to be enforced upon you. Whether he did it or not, I don't know. So I'm not saying, you know, Bill, you've done terrible things. I don't know, but I do know this, that this country has been a shambles since this whole thing has come out. I believe that it is a bad mark on his ability to lead the country by allowing something so perhaps insignificant, depending upon your viewpoint, to upset the entire world as it has. Why didn't he stop it?
The whole world is upset over this. Wait a minute. The whole world is not sitting around saying,
don't take the last thing I said.
Yeah.
No, but yes,
the whole world is upset.
The whole world is talking about it. The whole world is looking at America today.
More
is
not what Bill Clinton does with his pants zipped down, but what he's doing to us with his pants zipped up.
Well, let me tell you what he is doing.
That is knocking down the middle class.
But this is what he is doing with his pants zipped up. We talked about being president. They did a survey of moms of preschool kids, and you know what? 92% of them said, not in a million years do I want my kid to grow up to be president. And 69% of them said, my values are better than the president of the United States.
They don't even know what they're saying. All right, we have to take a commercial.
Planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect, call 213-852-2655 or visit our website at abc.com/PI.
Okay, our fruit baskets have left the building. They're gone out. That bothers you. Yeah, exactly. But if I get back to the case now, as you know, the case was thrown out today by Judge Weber because she said this did not constitute sexual harassment. And this woman, Elizabeth Ward Grayson, said she felt that she was sexually harassed because she was forced to fess up about a consensual relationship. And you said this is ruining the country. I'm asking you, whose fault is? Who is really ruining? Is it Linda Tripp or is it Monica Lewinsky? Is it Ken Starr or is it Bill Clinton?
Let's go to the sexual harassment, because that's what you started the last segment with, and that's extremely significant. It is an absolute field of gray. The courts haven't given us real clarity of thought on this. When they talk about a hostile environment, does that mean that if a man exposes himself to a woman one time and doesn't have a repeat pattern of that behavior, it doesn't constitute a hostile environment? And then, in fact, if we go to Paula Jones specifically, if in fact the allegations are true, and what Judge Wright said, by the way, what Judge Weber said...
She got pay raises, she did not lose her job.
No quid pro quo, exactly.
But
that's why she threw the case out.
Listen to what we're doing, though, Bill. Here we are talking about all these technicalities of what is and what isn't, rather than what was right or wrong. The judge did not say that what Bill Clinton did was okay, that he was vindicated as Clinton himself came out. He has now raised his presidency to the level of Richard Nixon. He can now say, I'm not a crook.
Well, the question is...
Richard Nixon was screwing with our national business.
A bigger issue.
Is just about his personal life.
I completely agree.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Well,
the question also becomes, and I think that's what the media ought to be focused on.
The reason it was thrown out of court in Arkansas is because it did not fit the definition of sexual harassment in the state of Arkansas, a law defined by what governor?
You were saying something...
Think about that.
He was saying something earlier. You were saying something earlier about your 3 kids, and that's more your concern. You don't know what to tell them about their president. And I think that's very challenging. That's also very
about their country.
That's hard. However, I look at it as a positive because it's forcing people to look at these situations and these circumstances, and even though you might disagree or not disagree, it's forcing people to look at them and weigh it out. And we do have to have explanations for our children, just like I had to have an explanation for the reason why I lost 2 pastors growing up for this very thing. They were having affairs, extramarital affairs. It just happens, you know, and it happened in a Baptist church. It was a big thing.
And it was wrong there, and it's wrong in the White House.
That's what I'm saying, but I had to have an explanation as a child. So maybe children do need to have explanations for this sort of thing, and maybe they do need to be told, no, this may not be the way you want to conduct yourself.
So let's go back to the protection.
I teach my children that if I've done something wrong, that I will go to I teach my children, if you've done something wrong, please, I would rather have you come and tell me that you did something wrong, than lie about it.
But
now, I'm not saying that Bill Clinton is lying about it. I think Bill Clinton is lying about it, but I'm not saying that. Because I
think the rest of us aren't needed. He's on both sides of the issue.
Well, like Bill Clinton. But the question really isn't whether we think it's right or wrong. You say it's wrong. But the question is, should we make everything that's wrong a case for the courts, for criminalizing it, for throwing you in jail for it? Your pastors, should they be thrown in jail?
No, they weren't thrown in jail. Or is God
their judge?
They were just thrown out of office, technically. We were just,
they had the opportunity to do that. I want to go back to what you said, though, Bill, because it's really important. 2 of my 4 children are girls. I am very concerned. The legacy that is going to be left for my daughters now, is sexual harassment an issue, or is it not? The feminists told us in the midst of the Anita Hill Clarence Thomas hearings, the only phoenix they could make to rise out of the ashes.
Clarence Thomas did not act like Bill Clinton.
Thank God for that. And now he sits on the United States Supreme Court.
Right, because he was a harasser. This guy, now, Paula Jones says...
He was a harasser?
Well,
excuse me,
I don't know. I wasn't there.
But
Paula Jones...
So what he does privately with Anita Hill...
Paula Jones' problems were that she didn't get flowers on Secretary's Day. I'm telling you, this is why the judge threw it out today. Because this is her whole case. She didn't get flowers. She claims sexual aversion, that this one incident made her icky about sex for years to come. And I think you can see that in her spread in Penthouse. And that she was caught in a dead-end job, and we were, of course, robbed of this brilliant mind for further government office.
But doesn't that go to the issue? Is sexual harassment
Isn't it more what Elizabeth Ward Grayson said? It insults all women who have really been sexually harassed when you bring a case like this. Isn't that true?
No. No, absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Because if, in fact, and remember again what the judge said in this 39-page decision. She said that there wasn't a strong enough case to go before a jury. It doesn't mean, as Jim alluded to a minute ago, that
in fact it was BS, basically.
Well, actually, I've yet to find that in Blackstone's law book, but if that's your interpretation, that would be fine. What she said is that the allegations were not strong enough to go forward on the case. So the point is, does that mean in retrospect that if a woman finds herself in a situation where a man commits not sexual harassment in this case, but probably sexual assault, should Paula Jones have run out of that hotel room? Indecent exposure?
Again, people who have really been assaulted, I think, would be insulted at that term.
Faith, if someone exposed themselves, if a man exposed himself to you, a pass?
He made a pass.
If a man exposed himself to you,
we're talking about legal definitions here, though. The legal definition of... I didn't hear that.
Okay, I have to put it away for a minute. We'll take a commercial. We'll be back. Okay, let's go back to this one more time, and let me say, I sent this fruit basket to the judge today because I think she put a stop to something Or didn't
No, she
stop
hasn't
it?
stopped it.
Okay,
Wait a minute. The breaking news, Ken
down.
Starr, I understand, has subpoenaed 6 orangutans, 2 water buffalo, and a lizard in Botswana, so, and a vulture who apparently saw the whole thing. So we're not through with this yet.
But what I'm saying is that what I was going to say is there's a trend toward extending a meaning of something toward what it isn't. And we're talking about sexual harassment in this case. Paula Jones was suing for her civil rights. Civil rights cases were brought, laws were made to protect minorities, prison inmates. It doesn't seem to cover what this is. So I think it's good that someone says, hey, you know, it only goes this far. And as we were leaving, you said, this is assault. Now, if this is assault, what is real assault? When someone throws you down, pins you down, forces himself upon you. What do you call that?
Legal definition, you call it battery. I mean, we're talking about a legal, I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but we are talking about a legal arena where the difference between assault and battery
and
is
Bill,
a big
has
difference.
Degrees of assault, 1st degree, 2nd degree assault. I mean, the law does
I call you a
delineate
name, I have
But
assault.
if every pass that a man made
you would call
was subject
Bill, you
a
would call
criminal...
a man who exposes himself to a woman just a pass. That's the same as a flirtive moment at the water cooler.
I don't call it assault. Do you call it assault?
Could you get arrested for doing it
Depends on the
outside right
man.
now?
Exactly.
It would depend on the guy.
Right. And it's only her word. There's no fact that he did that.
That's right. But if it did happen, in retrospect, should Paula have left that hotel room screaming and immediately reported it to someone so it could have been validated? Would that, so that we women can extrapolate out of this morass of accusations, so that if sexual harassment is a real issue and we really and truly can say collectively as a culture, right is right and wrong is wrong, what are the parameters then of behavior? How do we say which is the way we go into the 21st century in this relationship between men and women?
Apparently the man is proud of his manhood. Because... I mean, the Kathleen Willey story was that he put her hand on it. Paula Jones, he exposed it. Apparently, that's his method. It's like, hey, baby, this is what I got.
But if all of that...
I think you'd enjoy it.
If all of that is true, though... I mean,
it's not my method, but...
If all of that is true, then the person, the president, is acting or has acted and continues to act, if it's true, like a college, some college cut-up guy who changes his major every couple of months and can't figure out what he wants to do with his life. When you are the President of the United States, it's too late to try to figure out what you want to do with your life.
Oh, I think he knows what he wants to do with his life. He wants to...
I think you're right. I believe you're right. And I don't think that someone with that particular problem needs to be our president. I really don't.
What about our senator or our congressman?
No,
I mean,
don't
acting
either.
like this has just happened and this is some new phenomenon in Washington or England.
No, but it's the first. No, it's not. But it's the first one that we have known about as it has been going on. The other ones we have found out
because of our media.
Later.
That's what it's about.
Which I think has also done an absolutely atrocious job of this.
Newsweek and the Washington Post and CNN.
I don't get protected. Everything I seem to do in real life seems to show up in some kind of tabloid somewhere. I'm like, who cares?
Right. I tell you who cares.
That time you exposed yourself to me, I will never forget.
Who cares are the people who are getting ratings because they're talking about this crap on television day after day, night after night. I think the media has, here's the third side, right? The media has made this into a zoo. I think the media has completely botched this whole thing.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's too bad.
Here's the media's fault. They have too many commercials. We'll be right back. All right, the burning issue we didn't get to today with my 4 Southerners is couches on the front porch. Laws are being passed so you can't have couches on your front porch.
I mean, if ignorance is bliss, those people must be ecstatic. But don't mess with people's lazy boys.